Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Ron Cox, and he had a widowmaker. Is that correct?
Correct.
And 5 heart attacks in that, right?
No, there's only one heart attack in that, and what it is, the blockage actually goes into what's called the LAD arteries, and it actually blocks the outflow of the heart. So
Okay.
that's why, and they're very, very hard to get to. That's why only 5% of the people who have a widowmaker actually survive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to give us a little background about yourself and then lead up to that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I grew up in a very small religious farm community in Indiana. I literally grew up between the cornfields. My little town had 10 churches in it. So it was a very religious type of community. When I was about 9 or 10 years old, I had my first clairvoyant experience through dreams, and I dreamt of my grandfather, whom I never met, never really knew as a young child. Maybe when I was 1 year old, I met him, but never knew him. And I had my first clairvoyant dream with him. And 2 days later, it turned out to be true. And basically, I had a dream. And I was somewhere where it was very hot. It was nighttime. I was on the water in a boat. I was fishing, and something hit my boat, and then I was in the water. But when they found me, pieces of me were missing. Well, it comes to find out a couple of days later, when my uncle called my mother to let our family know that my grandfather had just passed away, that he was killed by alligator poachers on one of the lakes above Lake Okeechobee here in Florida. They hit him at night, he drowned, and when they found his body, pieces of him were missing, and we had to cremate him. And my mother looked at me when she found this out, and she said, "Don't you dare ever tell anyone about this. I don't want you talking to your friends about it. I don't want you talking to your brothers and sisters about it. The only person you can talk to about it is me." So it made me afraid of it. And then the person who I considered really more of a father to me, because my mother and father were divorced and he lived in another state, was my best friend's father, Bill. And I knew when he passed. I instantly knew it. Only I was awake at the time. But I just got this sensation over me that something had happened to Bill. And lo and behold, it did. He died of a heart attack. And then when I was a little bit older, my father, I was 15 years old in high school, giving a speech because my father had lung cancer and I couldn't finish it. And I said, "I feel like my father's going to pass tonight." And lo and behold, he did. So I've always had these clairvoyant dreams and feelings that I never really knew what it was, because I never studied anything like this. And even as a young teenager, I never was really interested in anything like this. But these dreams kept happening over and over and over throughout my life, and I just really never got in touch with it. And I'll say, I'm a gay man just trying to figure out where he's at in life, coming out of the country, moving into Indianapolis, into the big city, wanting to discover things. And I did. I didn't lead the best life. Alcohol and drugs were always involved, throughout. It was just very confusing why this was happening to me. What was this all about? And it became to the point to where I was actually afraid to go to sleep at night. And I actually ended up on medication to help me sleep so I would not dream. I was that afraid of it because I literally felt like I was the angel of death. And I didn't want to be. You know, who would want to know that somebody's getting ready to die? You know, especially with never really even being in this field of study or not understanding things. You just don't want it. And I tried to refuse it. I've tried to put it off. I've known about scenes that have happened, and I almost got arrested one time because I knew too many details of a scene that the cops didn't put on the news. And while I'm on the telephone with them, the cops are on their way to my apartment. The only reason I didn't get arrested is because I had 2 roommates that were there with me. You know, so it really made me afraid of all of this, and I did everything I could to stay away from it. I didn't want it. You know, this ability was more of a torturous thing to me than it was a gift at that time, because I didn't think I was that special. You know, I was an abused child. I was raised around alcoholics, drug addicts. It was either this way, that way. Like I said, my little town had 10 churches in it. So it was all very, a lot of religious connotations in that town. Okay. So I grew up with this feeling of guilt that I knew these things. And why was I picked? You know,
Yeah, because you're different already, you know. I'm sure it's last thing you wanted to be.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, I'm just gathering my emotions here.
Did I say the wrong thing?
No. Know when people's going to die, it's the hardest when you know it's going to be your mother.
I'm sorry, what?
It's the hardest when you know it's going to be your mother.
Oh.
My mother was suffering from Alzheimer's. She was in a nursing home. My family was going nuts. My sister called me up, said, if you don't come home immediately, she's not going to die. She's just lingering. She's suffering, and it's all because of you. So I had to take a Xanax, go in, lay down, and lo and behold, my mother showed me the funeral home that I had not been in since I was a little boy. She showed me every room in this funeral home. The paint was a seafoam green. It had pictures all the way around it, like museum style at eye level. She took me all the way through this funeral parlor, except where her casket would be. She would not show me her casket. I knew it was her. So
Who showed you this? I'm sorry to hear you.
My mother.
Oh.
My mother, she was out of body, Alzheimer's. And she showed me this before she transitioned. And my partner at the time, I told him, Mom is going to pass here within an hour or 2. In exactly 2 hours, my mother passed. So this has been a very difficult journey, and I did not understand it. Why would anybody want to see that?
Right.
You know, my mother and I didn't have the best relationship, but yet when I got older and she understood, she was my best friend. When she could not remember anybody, when she was in the hospital, out of 8 children and 22 grandchildren, she could not remember one name. But when I got there, it was, Ronnie, what the hell are you doing here? Just as plain as day. Okay, so we had a really good relationship. And then these dreams kept happening over and over. And I still didn't get into it. I still did not look into why this was happening, what was going on. I just, it's just a part of me. Everybody used to call me Miss Cleo.
What's that mean?
Well, she was a famous psychic down here. They got
Oh.
turned out to be doing fraud.
Oh.
She went to jail. So that was my nickname. And hey, that's fine. That's fine. I don't mind. Call me whatever you want. You know what I mean? So literally, I had just turned 50 years old. And 1 month to the day, I turned 50 years old on August 17th. And on September 17th, I had a massive heart attack. I had the widowmaker. God, that is the most painful thing you could ever go through in your entire life. The pain that went from my head down to my toes was excruciating. I didn't even know I was having a heart attack at first until my little Doberman jumped up into my lap because something was wrong with me and he would not get off of my lap. And then everything really started coming in full force. The sweats, the nausea, the just what is going on here, calling the ambulance. My husband was freaking out and all of that, and the pain that just ripped through my body. It was the most intense pain I've ever felt in my life. They tried to, the heart attack was so intense and I was sweating so bad, they couldn't even get the tape to stick to my arm to hold the IV in. So they had to take the gauze, wrap it around my arm and tie it in a knot. To hold that's how intense it was. I probably had 5 or 6 heart attacks actual in there, going through the process of going from my house to the hospital. I remember in the hospital, when I was in the emergency room, a couple more happened. It's very painful. They're trying to get me to wherever they were going to take me to. And they finally get me in there. And the very last thing I hear is he's in VFib. Well, when that happens, they say the hearing is the last thing to go. Right after I heard that, I stepped out of my body. And I was standing right beside the doctors. I could see them sticking this thing up my leg. I had no idea what it was. It was a very long silver thing going up my leg. I could see the doctors. I could even see the details of the surgical caps. And the next thing I know, I'm in this, what I now know as the void, from what I've been listening to and trying to educate myself on. I had to say that stepping out of your body is the most gentlest thing you will ever experience. And it is so quick. It's like the blink of an eye. It's that gentle and that quick. And I was in this dark space, but I felt this love that was just, I don't even know how to describe it where people could understand it. I mean, I know I was in my spirit body, but I could feel it penetrating through me. That's how intense the love was coming from the other side. And I could feel a lot of people standing around me, but I couldn't see them. I could just feel their presence. And I knew my mother was there. I felt her the strongest. I have no idea how long I was gone. I couldn't tell you what seemed like a very long time over there. May have been just a few seconds.
Was anything said during that time?
Yeah, my mother came to me and said, you have too much to work to do. You need to return. And all of a sudden, all these memories started flooding me. My spouse, Dennis, my dogs, my home, my friends, everything started coming back into me. And I remember screaming, no, 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 no. I felt like it was because I didn't want to transition just yet. And I wanted to come back, but on the other hand, I wanted to stay. I didn't want to come back. And I never understood what she meant by I had a lot of work to do. Well, it was actually my husband that said, I need to start looking into this stuff, because one of the girls that was working for me, I used to manage a lot of nightclubs here in the city. And one of the DJs that used to work for me, I had a waking vision. I knew that she committed suicide. I knew she was in a park. I knew she was under the pavilion. And I knew that they couldn't find her body because her body fell in the bushes. So I waited a little bit because one of my other DJs that worked for me was a very good friend of hers. And I called him up and I said, hey, what happened to her? And he said, well, she got upset last night, and about 4 o'clock in the morning, she left the apartment and nobody knew where she was. And she actually went to Nichols Park. She was under the pavilion, and my DJ friend literally said to me, Ron, we couldn't find her body because she fell into the bushes. And that's when my husband said, Ron, you really have an ability here that you need to figure out what it's about.
So before your NDE, you had these dreams and these knowings, but after your NDE, this become more like visions?
More visions, more premonitions, waking premonitions. I just know things instantly. It's almost like a computer download where it's just downloaded into me and I know it.
I've had that a few times, and it's always been hard for me to know if it was real or not at the time, and only time could tell whether I acted on it or whether I didn't. If I acted on it, then I'd find out, or if I hear something later that happened. But that's a hard position to be in.
Yeah, well, one of the things that validated my premonition was being on Facebook and seeing "Rest in Peace" and her name. Because they posted it immediately. I hadn't seen it yet. And then boom, there it was. That was the first thing I opened up Facebook to, was "Rest in Peace" with her name.
Now, when you came back, was that the extent of your NDE? You saw these figures and your mother said you heard her voice. Was there anything else?
Well, I didn't see them. In the void, I really didn't see them. I just felt them.
Right.
I felt their presence. I knew who they were. I could feel them. I knew what felt like my dad. I knew what felt like my brother who had already passed. I knew some of these people that were there, but they felt like they were sort of in the background a little. My mom took the lead.
And this void, was this black?
It was black, but what's amazing is I don't feel like I had to turn. I didn't have to turn around to see where my body was. If I thought about, where am I? Like, what's going on with my body? Well, there it was. It's like wherever I focused my attention, there was my attention, you know, and there I could see it. But then I wanted to be in that void with my mother, with my father, with all those who had passed before me. My late lover, he passed 25 years ago of AIDS, you know, and I even had a vision with him. That was unbelievable.
After you come back?
25 years ago, I had the vision with him 25
Okay.
years ago.
Okay.
But I could feel his presence on the other side. You know, he was always very a strong personality, and you can just feel that strength in them. Well, you know, as a medium, we get their personality traits. You know, we know what they've done in their life. We know how they've been, and that's sort of what I could feel in their presence. I knew they was there. I knew he was there. My mom was there. My dad was there. I knew my next door neighbor Bill was there. It's just I could feel all of them, but I just couldn't see them. My mother, I couldn't see her face. I only felt her presence and heard her voice. I would have loved to see her, you know, but still just to hear her voice again was a gift.
What was it like coming back? Were you just instantly back in your body and you'd had
Well, when I came back into my body, I came back in with a boom. And I think it was from them giving me the paddles, shocking me. I literally felt myself fall back down on the table. So in other words, when they shocked me, my body raised up off the table. When I came back down and hit the table, that's when I was back in my body. Again, how long I was there on the other side, I couldn't tell you. You know, and I didn't understand that until I've been reviewing other near-death experiences, and they said they felt like they were there for hours or days, but it really wasn't. It's like all this spiritual information or universal information, let me put it that way, is just downloaded right into you. And like I said before, I just don't feel like I'm the same person. I feel like I've transformed into a new person. And now I'm a young child learning the ways of life all over again, like learning your ABCs or 1, 2, 3s. I'm really learning how to be in this new body with these new abilities. And I think it's sort of a shock. It's sort of a shock to the body, a shock to the brain, the personality, because you're not who you used to be. You're just not. You go from believing there's an afterlife to an absolute knowing there is an afterlife, and nobody can tell you any different. No matter what, I don't care what they said. If you don't like my story, leave. That's fine. I don't care. You don't need to hear it. But I guarantee you one day when you're sitting there getting ready to go out of your body, you're going to remember my story. Just, I mean, I knew a lot of people here in this city, Wilton Manors. And it's changed me so much that I don't like going to those places anymore. I don't like the feelings I get from those places. Yeah, the music's great, drinks are pouring, people are happy, but I feel like there's so much depression and anger and sadness, and that's what they're doing. They're using these things to cover up all that. But why am I feeling it so much? You know,
Yeah. It's like we have feelers out all around us.
Yes. Yes. You know what's going to take place before it ever takes place. And I call this an ability, not a gift. Okay, my mediumship is ability that was given to me by our Creator. Okay, the gift is what I give to you when I bring forward the evidential messages from your loved one in spirit. It's like receiving a nice little package with a pretty bow on top of it. Here, you get to hear from your loved one again. And that is such an incredible healing feeling, not just for the person sitting in front of me, but all the healing I'm receiving as I'm giving these messages.
Yeah, it's
And
not
I
like
don't
that.
think-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't think I would have ever been able to do any of this without my near-death experience.
Right.
Without this major transformation that took place.
Yeah, it's like when we come back, we not only have all these little feelers out, feeling everybody's emotions, but we also are in that time shift of the past and the future. We're not just like in the now, we're slipping. And so we might see things just a little bit before they happen, or know things that happened in the past with somebody we're around, maybe not details, but it can be an emotional feeling of their sadness or their anger, or we're just picking all this stuff up, and that's not who we were before.
No.
And then, from what I hear about heart attacks, people with heart attacks, I believe they go through a depression all their own. And
yes.
you have that to deal with, whatever medically to deal with, plus all these changes.
All of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, after my widowmaker heart attack, I was in such a deep depression for about 6 months. And it was, sorry, sometimes I feel like I'm an emotional wreck. But it was overwhelming, and I was very afraid for myself. The depression was that deep, and I did not know how I was going to get out of it. And the only thing I could tell to my spouse was, I'm fine, I'm okay. The whole time sitting there going, I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't understand any of this. And without a connection, I had nobody to turn to. And so I just started praying for the help that I needed. And lo and behold, in walks the name of this gentleman. And I researched him and started going to his mediumship development classes. And it took off from there. But he also had never had a near-death experience. So he did not know how to help me.
Well, yours was just 5 years ago, your NDE. So you're fortunate in that we already have the internet. There were so many books and speakers and videos. And back, a lot of us, ours was way before any of that. And we were just like, we didn't have a name for it.
Right. I knew that I had to start talking about this. I knew that I was being driven to start talking about this. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. And lo and behold, that was beautiful.
I'm sorry.
I just saw an orb go from my left screen right across in front of you all the way up to the right, top right corner. It was beautiful, and it even left a little streaking trail. Thank you. Like I said, I knew I had to do something with this. I knew I could not hold this information back. I knew my life was taking a new direction, and it was going to be powerful. It was going to be transformative. I did not expect all this, and it's absolutely amazing. Just the people who are reaching out and want to know and want to hear about it, or people making appointments with me just so they can hear about my near-death experience.
How
You
does
know,
it, are you involved with the gay community? Like, I wonder how they would respond to this information.
I'm saddened. I'm saddened by it because of all the friends I had and all the people I helped out throughout the years. Not one person has ever reached out. It's disgusting.
Because you've had a heart attack or because of it?
Because I had a heart attack, a near-death experience. I posted all the time, talk about it all the time on Facebook. Nobody's ever reached out.
Really?
I mean, with all the people I've known, I manage several nightclubs here in town. Nobody in the gay community has ever asked me about my near-death experience. Actually, I feel like such an outsider now. I can't even relate to the gay community.
See, I relate to you in that is that when I had my second NDE at 25, I lost my twins. A month later, had a miscarriage. And my husband's in a big Catholic family, 12 kids. And so there's all these, wives and aunts and uncles and everybody. And they have all these big parties all the time. And right after all this happened, we went to one of those holiday things. Nobody said, I'm sorry you lost the twins. I'm sorry you had another miscarriage. I heard you were in the hospital. I heard you almost died. I mean, I had internal bleeding. They called my whole family in, said she's not going to make it. Nobody said one word, not Jack, nothing.
Nothing. It's
like everybody's so self-absorbed.
They are.
And that stares you in the face. After you've had an NDE, the truth just stares you in the face.
Yeah.
Humanity. It's like Earth sucks.
It is. Humanity sucks right now. It really does. Even a friend of mine who I worked with had a vascular aneurysm. Okay. He almost died. I went to the hospital to see him. I made sure his refrigerator was emptied of spoiled food before he got home. And I went out and I filled his refrigerator up so he would have something to eat when they released him from the hospital. Not one word.
That's the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's all about me. That's the society these days. And we got to get back. We got to get back to not religion, a little bit of spirituality, a little bit of belief, and there's something greater than us because, us NDEers know it's true. And now all the research coming out proves it's true. How could I know the type of skull cap my doctor was wearing when I didn't even see him until my NDE?
Yeah, the evidence is overwhelming.
And they still don't want to believe it.
I think they don't want to think about death. They want to stay in the materialistic, goal-driven world. And they don't want to think about, we're here just for a little while, y'all, and we're going to be gone. And those NDEers that are, I call it romancing the stone, wanting to go back, eternity's forever. That's a long time. And so make an impact while you're here because we know so much. Our eyes have been opened. We are wide awake to so much stuff we weren't before. And we have got to get these messages out. We've got to stop putting these gags over our mouths.
Yep. I agree 100%. It's time to start talking about this.
And when I was 25, that's young. And I was a young, immature 25 at that, and have this near-death experience. I find myself the first moment I'm in the white light. And before I see this panel of people and have these experiences, I'm just there in this white light and I'm thinking, God, you got to start sending people back. you start letting people say it's real, because all I see was white light, but I knew there was life after death. This isn't what I was told in Sunday school and church. None of that. You know,
Right.
what I pictured as heaven, I didn't know if that was really going to happen. It seemed like optimistic. You know, I'm in this white light and I'm like, oh my gosh, the Bible, the Jesus, the heaven, the angels, it's all real. Even though I hadn't seen anything yet, I went through a tunnel, I was transported somewhere else, and now I'm in this white light. And I'm like, life after death is real. You know, and I'm thinking, God, you guys send people back and tell them it's real.
Yes.
Because
exactly.
the Bible's getting old and they're not reading it anymore.
No, they're not.
And it's going to take people like us from all walks of life, every personality.
Absolutely. It's us. We are the ones that have to spread the word. Because with us, it is not hearsay. With us, it is fact. It is truth. It's undeniable. We can never, ever try to deny our experience. I know a gentleman who reached out to me on Facebook who's had 6 near-death experiences, going all the way back to Vietnam. And he was so afraid to talk about it. And now at 90 years old, he is just now starting to talk about it. And he reached out to me asking me for help.
Well, I hope you tell him to come on Peggy's show. I'd love to talk to him.
Okay, I'll reach out to him.
I've had people in their 80s, I think 3 of them in the last month.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I'm not going to say that recording, so never mind.
What?
Even the meeting that I went to on NDEs.
Yeah, feel free to talk.
I felt like the people that were there, I was the only one that had a near-death experience at a near-death NDE group.
Yes,
the only one. And they were all there to learn from me. And I was there to learn from the instructor, so I would have some understanding.
Is it because they want to know how to be a medium?
No, they wanted to know what it was like on the other side.
Okay.
They were preparing for their departure.
I don't know why, because so many of them believe in reincarnation, so I don't know what they even care.
I mean, well, even the ones that were there to learn about what it was going to be like on the other side, because they're getting ready to go, you know, I just.
Were they elderly?
Elderly, yes.
Okay.
Very elderly. It's like, I'm sorry, you had 80 years to discover this. You were in the height of the spiritualist movement, and you did not even try to discover this. And now at the final end, you want to learn because you want to change what? The final hour? Final outcome? What is it you want to change? I see all these things about, oh, I met the devil, or I went to hell, or I don't believe in any of that. I believe we are in hell, and I believe it's here on this planet. And I believe that everyone, I was a former drug addict, alcoholic. And I was greeted with the most intense, unconditional love you could ever possibly imagine. And then when you do imagine what it's like, multiply that by 10 million, because you're not even close.
See, I didn't feel that.
Oh, that's what.
I hear it all the time, but I didn't.
That's what transformed me so much. I was an abused child. I didn't believe I was worthy of anything. I was the only one out of 8 kids to even try to go to college and graduate. And my mother even stood up there, instead of saying, I'm proud of you, she said, good, let's see you do something with it. So I never grew up with any self-esteem or self-worth. I was never good enough.
Yeah, me either.
So if I was never good enough, why am I good enough to receive all that unconditional love? And what it really taught me is I'm truly worthy to receive that. I am worthy to receive all the blessings that I've gotten in my life, because I can tell you my life has been very difficult. My lover died of AIDS when I was 30 years old. I took care of him in my house. He died in my arms. I had the nurses in my house. 30 years old, planning a funeral. Nobody at that age should be planning a funeral. Okay, he was 34.
Makes me think of the ending of Saved by the Light, this story of Daniel Brinkley's NDE and his journey. At the end of it, they have this old lady walks up to him and she says, well, when the Lord was picking out prophets, he sure scraped the bottom of the barrel when he found you, didn't he? And Daniel Brinkley says, yes, ma'am, he did. And, you know, it makes me think of a lot of us. We are what people would consider the bottom of the barrel.
Right.
And who else does God want to save but the bottom of the barrel?
Well, Jesus was on
the saints.
Just look at it. Jesus was on the cross with a murderer and a thief beside him, and even they went to heaven. So that tells me everybody goes. It doesn't. Energy is pure energy. It's truth. There is nothing corrupt about our pure energy. So we all go back, and it's all about our experiences in our life that we come back to share with God.
And somebody's had life reviews where they're shown, like Daniel Brinkley, and showed all the bad things he did. And so, you know, I believe that if we're not pure to be in that white light in the heaven God has prepared for us, we're probably going to have to answer for some things. We're going to have to feel some pain that we caused. We're going to have to do some work. That's just what I think, just from hearing everybody's experiences. Like, yeah, we all get to go, but I think maybe some of us will get a firm paddling first. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we're not going to be able to be there and cause mayhem. We're going to have to be purified, and whatever that looks like, I don't know. That's what I think.
Well, I know I had a troubled life. I understand that. I know I caused a lot of hurt and pain, and I understand that. And I think through all this healing and stuff, it's healing myself, healing others, helping to make amends for all the past trauma and drama and stuff that I've caused against others. At least I hope so.
And we're just because we're NDE don't mean we're saints.
No, we're not.
We get angry. I mean, we're human.
Yes. Yeah.
Kick us in the gut, we're going to cuss you out. I mean,
exactly.
We're not going to say, bless you, my child, I forgive you. No.
Yeah, no.
We're going to give you what you need.
Exactly. Well, and it's going to be about truth, and no matter how hard it is, that when it hits you, it's truth. You know, people don't want to face up to their own responsibility of their actions. Well, that's what I'm doing. I know my first 50 years were rough. I know there was a lot of anger in there. I was abused. You know, of course, there's
I was too. I had abusive childhood.
Of course, there's going to be a lot of anger in there. I lost my spouse, my partner at 30 years old, for a disease the government didn't even want to talk about in the beginning. Of course, I'm going to be angry.
And there's a lot to be said, and you know, doing research on how that even started has to do with the government.
Yes. Now, I think it's caused my life has caused me a lot of PTSD, you know, and I'm trying to work on that as best I can. But do you really ever get rid of the trauma?
Right.
You know? And I think with my near-death experience, it's made it all a little, I don't want to say less intense because I don't want to take away from anybody else's trauma. I feel like it's eased my burden a little bit because of the things I know, because of where I've been, because of the people I help. And no matter how many messages I give, there's always something in there for me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we have to realize. It's the power of three. You know, you, me, and source, God, him, her, whatever you want to call source. It's the power of three. So we're together. There's going to be healing here. There's going to be a lot of healing here. You know, and sometimes I come out with a client and I'm just like, wow, how did that even happen? How did I get that information? I question where it comes from at times because it's downloaded. You know I have my guides, I know I have my spirits, I know I have my teachers, I know I have my spirit team working with me. But it's like, wow, how could I know that?
Right.
And it's realizing I didn't know it. It was the spirit world that knew it and gave
Right.
it to me. And I like for spirit to lead the way, which has really changed me. I ask every day before my meditation, Spirit, please go before me. Help part this anger and depression like you did the Red Sea. Help part it so I can walk through it peacefully and help those who need help. Because it's all I want to do is help. It's all I want to do is serve. However I can serve you, I want to help serve you. You know?
That's how I feel too. It's like, I don't do it, they do.
Yes.
It's just I have an ear open or eye
Yes.
open to catch it.
Yes. And I always say, Spirit, if you're going to give me the information about this person, I'm not going to approach that person. I need you to open the door for me. And when you do, I will step in and give them the information that you've given me to translate. There's nothing ego about it here. It's not about me. This is all spirit. And some of the things I know, there's just no possible way I could know without spirit giving me this information. You know?
Yeah. I say one time I walked in my mother-in-law's house and she said, oh, look at me, I fell. She showed me this big bruise on her leg. It was just a bruise. And I said, wound care. It just come out of my mouth. That's what I need, wound care. And she's, retired nurse. So I'm thinking, what in the world? And of course, ended up, I was driving her every week to wound care. It got this big hole in it and wasn't healing right. And then it's coming to her house, home health, trying to pack this hole in her leg. There's no way I could have known that was going to need wound care.
Right.
It wasn't a wound. It was just a stupid bruise.
Right. But you knew it was going to transform into something else. And
it just come out like
immediately. Yes. But just like yesterday, I was talking to a woman in Zurich, Switzerland. What? 9,000 miles away? And I told her, I said, I have your mother, and she's showing me playing with a string of pearls. She was playing with a string of pearls. I'm trying to figure out the significance of it. And she just starts laughing. And she goes, I had a string of pearls on before our Zoom call, and I realized I was playing with them so much, I figured it'd be distracting, so I just took them off right before I signed in. How do you know that? How do you know that? And I told her, I said, sweetheart, really what this is saying is your mother's telling me she's right there with you. Because she's telling me exactly what what you were doing. You were playing with your string of pearls because I know you were having a lot of anxiety before this Zoom call started. It's amazing. It's amazing. But in the
I pick
other,
up on song lyrics too. Often when I was talking to guests, I don't know why, I pick up, all of a sudden I'll hear a song lyric when I'm talking to you, and I'm gonna have to look it up now after I talk to you to find out what is this song, what is the rest of the message. But there's this guy singing, he says, "For to ease your pain." I'm like, what is that song? What is that song? But it keeps coming, it keeps coming. So I'll just have to look it up later and find out what is the title, what is the whole meaning of that song, and then it'll click what the whole meaning had to do with what we're talking about. And it's just this little personal thing of mine. That,
sweetheart, I already know what it is.
what is it?
It's the Gatlin brothers.
Is it?
It's Sweet By and By. I listen to that every day before my meditation.
Really?
Yes, every day. That and Oh Happy Day are the songs that I use to bring my energy way up. And see, isn't this amazing? I mean, you couldn't know that without Spirit being here between us. And
Yeah, I just keep hearing it.
of us.
Setting in.
You know, just like I saw the orb just go right across to you with this string telecross. I can't wait for you to review this because you're going to see it.
It could have been a fly,
It could have been a fly.
because I think I had a fly while ago. It kept bugging
I'm
me.
sorry, excuse me. My computer came unplugged and I didn't realize it.
Everything looks and sounds okay.
Well, just before we run out of the battery.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Okay. So Spirit is so amazing. It's so incredible. There's no way you can describe it for someone to understand it who has never been there. They're just not going to comprehend it. All I pray for is that, you know, that little spark of source ignites within their soul, just to plant a little seed to let it grow, because it will grow. And they will come to a better understanding. And I just think we all need to have that seed within us. And I love science. I love science. I love quantum physics. I love all that stuff. Do I understand it? Quantum physics on a great big level? No, I have to sit back and absorb it and process it and all this.
Yeah, I don't understand either, but I love just sit and stare at it and try to. It's way beyond me, but I feel like I want to know this stuff. You're frozen a little bit. I think my internet's a little bad today.
Yeah, you froze too.
Okay. But yeah, you know, that quantum physics things, it's just like, that's God.